Happy Friday. Sharing with you today from my home instead of the gym. I normally get with you at the Richmond Athletic Club, but instead I just left there, got home, was out here enjoying the weather, and I had some things that had come across my mind about Friday. Tonight is the night that a lot of us find as the beginning of the weekend. Tonight's the night that we get to vent our frustrations, we get to relax, to enjoy the day, the evening. For some, well, for many, tonight's the night we get to go out with our friends, to go out and have a good time. Sometimes we make some mistakes. Sometimes we make some bad choices. Usually those come on the weekends when you don't have to wake up in the morning and get ready for work. So mine drew back to a couple things. First thing is, what's a mistake? What's a sin? What's right? What's wrong? Saw a Facebook post from a friend of mine today, and he made a very valid point. He said, if your shoes keep taking you down the wrong path, maybe it's time to change shoes. And it reminded me of a story I once heard about a man walking down a road. He's walking down the road, came upon a pit. He didn't see the pit, he fell in. Deep above his head, he got stuck in there, and it took him all day to get out. Next day, he was walking down that same road. Today, he looked at that road and he thought, I'm going to get as close to that pit as I can get, and I'll go around. So he walked himself up to the edge, just kicked him on over, fell right in. This time it took half the time to get out, but he was still there quite a while. The next day, he started walking down the same road, and he notices long before he gets to the pit, there's a sign that says, hey, there's a pit ahead. Here's a detour. Take a different route. He ignores that sign and keeps on walking. Today he decides, well, I know how to get out of the pit, so I'm not even try to go around. I'm just going to hop in and get out. So he walks right up to that pit. He jumps in that hole, gets right back out. Now he continues on this path day after day after day. The same cycle over and over and over again. Until one day, he's at work, telling about his perilous journey every day of walking down this street, hopping into this pit, and having to get out. And one of the guys looks at him and said, why don't you make a different decision? He said, what? Should I try to go around the hole? He said, no. Why don't you just take a different street? See, the reality is that the first time he came upon that pit, he made a mistake. He wasn't paying attention to the signs. He wasn't paying attention to the warnings. He didn't see him at all. He fell in that hole. It took him all day to get out. How does that happen to us? Well, we make mistakes. For most of us, it's our nature once we make a mistake, especially if that mistake has wounded our neighbor, our family, someone else. We feel guilt, immense guilt. We struggle with that. And it takes a really long time to climb out of that hole of guilt. That was a mistake. Mistakes happen. We make them. But the next day, the next time, the next opportunity, we start to see the signs. We see that mistake coming again. We see that argument building. We see that fight building. We see that bad choice in the bar happening from a long ways away. We have choices then. Do we ignore the signs and we press on? Do we see how close we can get? Maybe it's an argument with your spouse. Maybe you know what button to push that's going to send it over the edge. So do you just get really, really close to that? Then what happens? Typically you give in to temptation, you fall. Mistakes happen. Willful decisions to work yourself past the warnings and put yourself in a situation where you're probably not strong enough to make a good decision, that's a dangerous spot to be in. Because the next step beyond that is that you don't care anymore. You don't feel guilty, you don't feel shame, you don't have a problem with who you hurt, including yourself. You hop into that sin, you hop into that mistake, you hop into that problem, you get up, hop right back out of the hole and keep moving. but then you go back. Why do you go back? You go back because bad decisions, bad choices, those things that we find in the moment are important, those things we find in the moment are worth doing, are unfulfilling. So maybe we start paying a little more attention to our road. Maybe it's a good idea to start looking for those signs that this isn't the street to be on today. Maybe we start looking for allies who are already walking down a different path and see what they got going on. Now, the other thing I want to mention to you is this. The mistakes are not the end of the world. The sins are not the end of the world. The habits of sin are not the end of the world. All of them are still just walks on your path. They're still just holes in your way that you can fall in and get out and make a different choice the next time you come upon it. The next time you see the sign, it's not the end. I will go so far as to say this: failure is not always a bad thing. I fail. We fail. Sometimes I fail at things on purpose. And what does that mean? Well, obviously most of you that follow me know that I'm a very avid member of the fitness community. I love strength sports, strongman, powerlifting, arm wrestling, bodybuilding, MMA, UFC. I love everything that is in that entire world. One of the very popular things and themes that I've noticed over the last few years is rate of perceived exertion, RPE numbers. Somebody posts a post on Facebook or they talk about their list for the day and I hit an 8 RPE. I held some in the tank. I was worried about my central nervous system, so I left some in the tank. Now, I don't have a problem with that. That's a whole different conversation. But what I will tell you is that sometimes you don't leave things in the tank. Sometimes you push your body to the point of absolute failure. Now, we do it in the gym on purpose because we're striving for that next PR. We're striving for that next weight. They're striving for that growth in that body part. We're trying to do something different. And we fail. We drop the deadlift. We lose the log. We're unable to hit that bench press. We're absolutely incapable of making our calves get bigger. It plagues me every day. But what I'll tell you about those moments of failure, for me, are the days that I have experienced the absolute most growth. Pushing my body far beyond the time my mind tells me to quit. My mind tells me to give up. My mind tells me I'm not good enough. That I have been in the pit too long. That I have been in the hole by my own decisions and I'm not getting out. Now, whether it's the devil talking in your ear or you're looking at yourself in the mirror and you're telling yourself that you can't improve, you can't grow, you can't be better, I'm telling you that those moments of failure are opportunities to push yourself beyond any possible rational feeling, emotion that you've ever had. They're the opportunities to push yourself when you don't want to push any harder. To do what? To grow, to improve. So mistakes aren't the end. Habitual sins aren't the end. And failure isn't the end. It's an opportunity. It's an opportunity right now in this moment to improve. It's an opportunity right now in this moment to grow. It's an opportunity right now, today, on Friday night, before you go out and make that same choice, to take a different road. I hope that you feel encouraged today, because I do. I hope you go into your weekend feeling like now is a chance to grow. And I thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak to you once again. God bless you. Have a great weekend.